I am turning this sunroom space into a seed starting station. Very blessed that we actually have these attached to the house. Now here we are bringing some of those things up to date so that it can be a stable, more flat temperature for my seed starting room. So thing number one, we had to get everything cleared out. Thing number two is we got to put down flooring here. We're actually taking 1.5 inch thick polypro aluminum siding and white siding foam paneling, and we're putting down in here on this surface. Then on top of it, we're going to actually be placing a 1/4 inch to 3/8 inch piece of basically plywood, and then on top of that, linoleum. Mind you guys, when you're picking your linoleum, that you want something with the least amount of laminate or shine as possible. That is actually going to have a lot of VOCs or volatile organic compounds that could potentially off-gas into your room and actually kill or stunt the growth of your plants. I've learned that one the hard way. This year when I was buying my linoleum, I made sure that it's basically a matte or flat finish with no extra laminate, and that also is a green style laminate that has very low VOCs. So that takes care of the floor. And the next step is we're going to come in and we got 6 mil thick plastic clear sheeting that we're going to be putting up over all the windows in here. And we're basically going to leave them as much out from the window as possible, giving that little bit of an air bubble behind it. So we'll put that up around all these walls. And then once we're to that stage, we're going to come back and we're going to revisit plumbing, which I'm very lucky. I already have hot and cold water plumbed out here. And I actually have the panel for my house is right there. There is a outlet on the bottom of this floor that I will actually be able to extend and just run up into here. So it's going to be a very easy conversion for this sunroom to become a seed starting room. I can't wait. Maybe you guys should go check out some of the videos after I'm done with the seed starting with the tomatoes, the peppers, and the onion seeds that we're going to be sprouting in here this year. What do you guys have for recommendations for a 2-season room? Things that you've done to allow it to become a full season room, and or what are your insulation pro tips for other growers out there? Because a lot of times we even have small greenhouses or sunrooms like this, but a lot of times they have a lot of air leaks and temperature fluctuations still. Post your comments down below. Thank you very much for the loving support.
All right, guys, well, the fun times continue. As you can tell, we are stripped all the way down to nothing here. I am really glad that we're doing this because, like I said, I cut a corner in the very beginning, and that is this carpet. And you can tell from just one flood that happened about 30 hours ago that the water is all the way over here and has wet down the majority of this carpet under here. Do it the right way the first time so that way you don't have to do it again. And I knew in the beginning, I was like, hey, no, my grow room is gonna be plumbed and drained correctly. And yes, I'm not gonna be growing in it that long. And you know, I'm only gonna pop some seeds real fast and all those type of things. When you set up a grow room like this and you spend money and you got an opportunity to successively plant and successively harvest, it definitely keeps a seed start room way busier. And this is probably one of the main hearts and souls to the backyard farm. If you guys have a grow room like this, definitely make sure you rip out the carpet and kills paint the base of your grow room. Let's go ahead and get cranking. Let's rip up this carpet. We'll see you in a second. So let's walk over some of the things that we've done so far. We actually came underneath these 4 and we kills painted it. We actually came in with 4 more floorboards, put them down, kills painted those on both sides as well. And now we've gone in and we've actually attached it with a good amount of screws to the bottom. This makes it so there's no bubbling and it's all completely solid against the subfloor underneath it. We've caulked all of the cracks and we are now ready to switch modes off of the floor because we actually decided that we are not going to be gluing down the linoleum in here. First off, I was worried about off-gassing. especially in a grow room? Would there have been volatile organic compounds? Would there have been other gases or off gases that would really mess with our plants? Thing number two is we were like, what happens if we want to change this in the future? What happens if we want to put in hardwood floor to match our kitchen, or something else happens? Dealing with glued down linoleum is very difficult to go back on, and you really just got to layer on top of it. So we didn't want to do that. We're actually just electing for in here to just place the linoleum down. Because of the racks and things that are going to be on it, it will definitely be secure. We shouldn't see any bubbling or anything like that. Let's keep the project rolling. Let's switch mode to the windows. The first thing that we did is we actually bought some of the mirrored film and we put it up on all of the windows. This was a fun task that Kelly helped me out with, but I wish I would have done this a really long time ago in here. The statistic on the window film, especially the mirrored window film, says that it blocks over 70% of heat and light that come through. I believe it. Right off the bat, there's a huge temperature difference in this room just by putting the film on the windows. You can see here on this door, that does not have any film. This does have film. You can see the difference. So thing number two is now we need to be able to control the light levels as well as the intake air and the exhaust air. We're gonna go through a lot of nerd how to set up a grow room parameters today. And if you guys wanna follow along on how to set up a proper seed start station or grow room, make sure you check out the previous and the forward parts of this video if you really wanna learn how to build a awesome seed start station, purpose built from the foundation up all the way to having a grow room and environment that you have a lot of opportunity for environmental control. We are actually going to be boarding up these windows. Why in the heck are you guys doing that? You just put this film on here. Well, first off, we were like a spaceship to all the houses out here as well as our garden. There was a lot of light leaking out at night and it just didn't look good. It wasn't good for our garden, wasn't respectful for our neighbors. We always want to be respectful. So we ended up adjusting our lighting period to when people are not sleeping. That ultimately made us run our lights during the day, which were then a lot more hot. And we were also burning energy during our peak kilowatt usage hours, which costs more money. The best time to have your grow lights on is in the middle of the night. It's the coolest, the cheapest electricity, that's the best. We have built some window boxes, and this window box, the first one is gonna go over this window. And we're actually gonna leave this window open about that much, and we are going to be having a intake flange with a HEPA filter at the top, 6-inch, and at the bottom, 6-inch. That gives us airflow for our top tier and airflow for our bottom tier. So this is where our intake is gonna come from through 2 HEPA filters, passively on no fans, but we will have backdraft dampers to control the airflow in and out. The air will flow through here intake style, and if we also want, we can also open the window for our house and pull some of our air-conditioned house air, especially during the winter when we're going through huge temp swings and we don't want too much condensation coming in through the HEPA and potentially creating moisture that'll drop on the floor. During those really cold storms, we can actually close this off and we can just go through house air conditioning. This will be a good opportunity during those cold storms. So you've got your intake from this side of the room, and we come over and we're gonna be doing the same thing, another window box and another vent flange, but this one's gonna be 8-inch, and this 8-inch flange is actually gonna be on a fan with a charcoal filter for smell and on an environmental controller, and this will be for the exhaust. So the intake will pull in from this side of the room, pull through, exhaust out through the filter, and go out this window. This will give us a good opportunity to be able to control our temp and our humidity in here. Let's get to it. I'll see you guys in a few hours after we bust a bunch of this work out. All right, so now that we're most of the way through, we're now gonna give you guys a little example of some of the interworkings of the plumbing for my seed start station. All of the 1.5-inch tubes are for drains. We want a lot of ability to drain a lot of volume of water so we don't have floods and create messes like we did here because of broken timers. This is all the drain valve. This goes to the top and bottom tray. And because I'm actually taking out the top tray, I'm going to use the opportunity to add a extension pipe that will go right here. The next thing that you're gonna be able to see is this 1-inch input. It has 2 valves on it for the 2 levels of flood and drain. This is our input. So we've got 1-inch input and 1.5-inch drain, even though the drain on the table is not that size. This gives us the ability to flow a lot of water. And I'll tell you what, I'm definitely gonna be adding in to this main 1.5-inch drain tree a whole set of overflow protection on the 3-foot by 6-foot trays, because this is gonna be here for long term. I wanna be able to be on vacation and even know that if a pump or a timer for some reason sticks on, that this thing is gonna be totally fine. So we can do that through 2 different ways. First off, on the system itself, by adding overflow drains, just like a bathtub on our grow trays. The second way, we could even add a drain hole into over here, because we know that this is the lowest point of the whole grow room. So if worst case scenario, we did get a hole, it would drain out. Just giving you guys some options to be able to explore while you're going through your build out stage of your seed start station. So the next thing that we see is our other 1-inch input water tree, and this goes to the 4-tier seedling rack. Each level has a valve on it, and because of where it is with the grow tray literally fitting in here like a glove, we had to do a couple 90s. Over here, we have our input water line for our strawberry NFTs. We've got our 1/2-inch valves over here, and we've got 1/2-inch tubing. This is kind of a pain to hook up because of where it is, so definitely think about the easiest spot for these input lines to be. I didn't have many options. This is probably the best that I can make work in this space, but it's definitely a little bit hard to get to. The last one, our 1-inch input for our Easy Clone system. Our Easy Clone system, during cutting out the floor, this actually makes this process a little bit easier. I can technically get rid of one of these valves wherever we want it to be. So we're actually gonna be keeping the bottom valve and the middle valve, and we're gonna be getting rid of the top valve. And another modification that we're gonna be making that you can see only on this one versus the rest of my input trees is this has a 90 right at the top that can actually promote an airlock. So this system, because there is no way for it to vent, actually hosts airlocks a lot more. This can ultimately hold old and stagnant water into it for a long time. And when you turn it on, it smells like sewage. It's bad water that you don't want to be giving to your plants because it's gone anaerobic. So we're also going to be changing that. It's perfect that technically that one is not being used. We can actually chop here, add a 1-inch adapter and our air vent there. That will allow this to breathe. You always want to put your air vents in at the top level of your system, just like this. So as you can see over here, we've got a cap in the top of our input irrigation tree. At the time when I built the system, I knew I was gonna put in air vents, so I went ahead and added this. It'll be here tomorrow. That air vent is gonna go right here. That allows the very top to have an air bleed, which will allow all this water to drain back down through the pump, even into the reservoir. This is an absolutely essential piece to add to any irrigation system. At the very top, have an air bleed to allow none of your lines, the airlock, to go stagnant. This is my little irrigation madness for the seed start station. This definitely made it a little bit more custom of a station. You could get away with putting all of your reservoirs in the room and not have any of this plumbing going through the floor, but because my reservoirs are below me, using gravity drain to be able to air bleed as well as drain my system without a collection basin and pump, This is a good opportunity for me. Now, come winter time, we're gonna see if there's a couple tricks in here that we gotta consider. We're gonna go ahead and get the PVC out of here and start tearing up the floor. We'll see in a second. We have got all the windows boarded up, which will help us with long or short day photo period plants that need controlled amount of sunlight and darkness hours. So we came through, we built these boxes, and over here, we've actually got two because this is our intake. Our intake is actually gonna be passive, and we're gonna be putting some HEPA filters on here, as well as these backdrafts. A backdraft damper is really, really awesome to make sure that you've only got air that flows one way. It allows your room to be that much more energy efficient. We're actually gonna finish these after we get the rest of the racks and stuff. The reason being, we might actually have to put a 90-degree elbow on there right off the bat and have the HEPA air filter sticking up or sticking down, depending on the two. This one is for top air circulation in the top tray, bottom air circulation, or we can just cap one. That way we have a winter with one or a summer with two. So kind of the rundown there. Also over here, we also boarded up the window. This has one 8-inch hole for exhaust. We're gonna go ahead and be putting an exhaust fan, a silencer, and a carbon filter right here to keep it quiet and also smell proof. Be considerate of the neighborhood. Also, it's just really good to filter your air. It keeps the air in the room a little bit longer. It doesn't cause such rapid spike up period or spike down period with exhausting air out of the room. So now we're done. We've also got the linoleum down. Feel really good about it. Nice Kills, new foundation, nice linoleum, boarded up windows, intake, exhaust, power is dialed. We are ready to rock. Let's go ahead and get all the gear back in here.